So thank you for the opportunity to present today. Happy International Building Design Day to everyone, and my condolences go out to all of those of you who aren't in Tassie and are stuck in lockdowns in a variety of shapes and forms around the country. Before I start, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, water and culture, and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Today, I'd like to share with you a fairly brief overview of what's been a 12-month journey between SDG Align and BDAA, where we've been exploring what sustainable development means to the sector. In the early days of our partnership, the sustainability conversation was almost exclusively about energy efficiency and thermal performance, really highlighted by Esther's presentation of how important that is. And it is very central to the work of building design, but it's not the whole story. Together, the BDAA and SDG Align set up a task force of building designers where we explored the broader view of sustainable development. This led to the development of a narrative or a shared story of what sustainable development means to the sector and how the BDAA will support the sector shift to sustainable action. Like all good journeys though, having started with a destination in mind, I wanted to make sure everyone was aware of what we were trying to achieve and the framework that we were using for this. So in 2015, 192 countries around the planet came together under the UN and agreed to a set of 17 interrelated sustainable development goals. These actually replaced the Millennium Development Goals, but they were designed to set a shared vision for the future that included not just the critical climate and environmental change needed, but it also included people's social and economic needs. This has sort of become the basis or the centrepiece for our discussion with the BDAA and its members about what sustainable development means. Building design is central, as is the built environment, to achieving any progress towards a future of sustainability for people globally, because most people live, work, go to school, grow old, engage with friends and family, generate income inside urban environments. And building designers are playing an increasingly important role in designing this urban landscape, not just the individual buildings. Whether you're looking at the impacts of building design and what those designs, the impact those designs have on the built environment, which supports life and well-being and health and economic prosperity, or whether we're looking at the building materials that are specified in the designs, those building materials make a significant impact on climate, but we also need to consider the social and economic impacts of the materials that we're specifying, looking at the supply chains, looking towards local production, which has become very topical since COVID, which has shown that weakness in the global supply chain, increasing prices and lags in supply. Or if we're considering the fact that businesses and building design agencies are businesses, what contribution businesses make through their policies and practices and how they support the physical, social, mental and health well-being, financial security of staff, and how we support the communities that we operate in. So this framework is fairly central to that whole holistic discussion. The other thing that was fairly central to our considerations was the value chain in which the building design sector resides. Building designers don't work in isolation, although sole traders may feel like they do sometimes, particularly when there's lockdown and you're stuck in front of Zoom all day, every day. Building designers have many stakeholders, and those stakeholders need lots of different things, and a conversation around sustainable development that includes those other stakeholders and other value chain members is fairly important. Owners and investors all want livable, efficient buildings, but why? Consumers are increasingly prepared to pay a premium for more efficient and more comfortable housing and office space. Well-planned, designed and constructed buildings become more sustainable, they cost less to run, they last longer, and they require less maintenance. Governments are increasingly becoming very concerned around building quality with the outputs of the Shergold-Weir and the Building Confidence Report, but that's local government, state government, federal government all play different roles and have different expectations and needs. Supply chains, the suppliers of building materials are keenly aware of the importance of the impact they have on the planet and are responding to supply chain disruptions, investor demands. Sustainable investing is becoming a very significant issue for many large multinational companies. The other end of that supply chain is builders that need to be informed and educated as to why the products were specified in the first place, how to properly install and build and construct so that we have the performance that we've designed. There's a fairly significant challenge with the likes of the 9-star building that Esther's talking about, where if it's designed to be 9 stars, is it constructed to be 9 stars, and is it lived in to be 9 stars, is a real challenge for that supply chain, that whole value chain. As businesses, we're also starting to see impacts in recruiting and retaining staff and talent. So not just are we competing in a very, very contestable consumer market with high standards and expectations, but the workforce that we're trying to attract is particularly keen on aligning with the shared values and social justice and climate action that is becoming more prevalent. I personally have a 21-year-old daughter, and she just will not work for a business that doesn't share her values. If you want to attract the next generation into the industry and continue the development that we're seeing, then we need to have a genuine alignment of values between both the sector and the businesses with that future workforce. For BDA as an association, this translates to a member service. There'll be a requirement to support the sector, particularly the small businesses. Like most industries, there's a few large businesses, but the majority in the building design industry are small and micro. Small businesses rely on their associations to provide that leadership, education, advocacy that the larger organisations sort of do for themselves. So collectively, the industry needs to be committed to a sustainable future for people and the planet. Building designers need to make a conscious effort, hence the by design on this slide, to incorporate the social, economic and environmental impacts that their businesses, their business practice, their community contribution, the designs they produce and the materials they specify have. To this end, we've identified through our task force work and the development of the narrative 4 key pillars for a sustainable future. Obviously, there's the environmental perspective, so green by design is fairly central to this equation to ensure that we're meeting the needs of the people while minimising our impact on air, water, resource use and land impacts, and to become regenerative by design. Effective and efficient design. So efficiency by design not only reduces the energy use of buildings that you design, but also the embodied carbon impacts, as well as reducing the costs across the whole of life of building, which I'll go back to Jeremy's point in the last presentation. Considering the whole of life of the inputs and outputs of our buildings is fairly important now. Livable by design is to recognise that buildings are occupied by people, whether that's offices or residential homes or strata developments. They're all occupied and used by people, and those people need to have a comfortable, usable, accessible, inclusive building to live in and occupy. Smart as the 4th pillar is really there as an enabler. Technology exists, it's continually evolving, there's new technologies emerging all the time. Making sure that we are aware of the things that support the outcomes that we're designing for, whether that is things like building information model and sensor tech to automate things like the HVAC systems, or whether it is access control, things that are designed into building, or building management systems to manage access, a whole variety of technology that's going to impact. Not suggesting everything needs to be tech driven, but where technology provides a solution, it is very important. So to provide leadership to the industry, as I said, BDAA plays a fairly central role in supporting the small and medium enterprise end of the building design sector. To provide that leadership towards sustainable development, the BDAA is committed to a set of principles and actions. In two categories, the BDAA first acknowledges the SDGs and the need to achieve net zero, the importance of diversity as part of a triple bottom line, making sure we include the social, economic and environmental impacts, as well as a sense of urgency. We can't sit on our hands and do nothing. We need to start taking action now, and we need to accelerate that action, particularly from an environmental perspective. To achieve that, the BDAA is committed to supporting the industry that it represents by taking action to provide leadership and advocacy on behalf of the industry, to educate the industry and other members of the value chain, whether that be working with suppliers or down to the building construction end, or even through into the facilities and strata management side. Collaborating again with those same stakeholders and others to magnify the impact and to be accountable. So getting to the end, where do we go from here? We've started the journey. We've by no means reached the end of it. SDG Align is committed to develop tools to support businesses to be more sustainable and understand the opportunities they have to improve their contribution and their impact, and to measure that. The BDAA/sustainable link on your screen now will take you to a newly established page, which will be the home for the sustainability discussion. There's also the BDAA community, where I'm sure Chris would encourage you to continue the conversation amongst your peers and others. The more people are talking about this, the more customer awareness and more value chain awareness we have, the better. Make your own commitment to a sustainable future. It's something that the more businesses I talk to through this journey, the more I understand that people want to do something, and the starting point is to make a commitment. So fairly soon we will have available that declaration that the BDAA has made. We'll have that available for members to sign, so that they can then start taking action. That's it from me, Chris. I've come in 3 minutes early because you told me it was a 15-minute presentation. Please feel free to reach out, keep in touch, and if there's any questions, happy to spend some time.
Thanks, Jeremy. It's been wonderful working with you, Willem, and the team in putting this together. We're going to obviously give out more information to our members as it develops. We've just completed the beta stage of all of our, I guess, journey with Jeremy and SDG Align, and the BDAA itself is really looking to ensure that our members are at the forefront of industry, and that they're able to have the tools to be able to see, and I guess really to monitor how their businesses are within the sustainable sector. We look at Australia on an international basis, and we're not really doing that well, are we, Jeremy?
Well, there's a report card that comes out every year globally for all countries committed to the SDGs, and Australia was 34. I think we have improved to 32. New Zealand was doing much better than us, so we're up about 14, but they dropped down a couple of spots in the last report card. So yeah, there's definitely work to be done. I think for me the standout is this is a shared responsibility. It's not up to government. Like I hear a lot, well, what's government doing about it? But government can only do so much. They can set policies, they can establish things like, well, we've got 6-star, do we go to 7-star? But it really comes down to all businesses to make their contribution, and all people within those businesses, and then all citizens to get on the journey as well, because magnifying hundreds of thousands of very small actions becomes very big impact.
Absolutely. So yeah, don't sit there waiting for the government to do things, because you could be waiting a while. So look, thanks again, Jeremy. Really appreciate it. It's been fantastic working with you and the team.
A pleasure.
We will give more information to the members as well. But again, there's some links there. So bdaa.com.au/sustainable if you wanted to see more about what Jeremy has just shown you. We also would like you to be on the BDA connected community. So make sure you get involved in that. We know that a lot of members get a lot of information from the BDAA. Just remember that if you unsubscribe, you basically unsubscribe from everything. So please make sure you're in the BDAA connected community, because it's really important to be there, because we're giving as much information as we can to our members. We're trying to limit how much, I guess, information we feed people. We feel that the information that we put out is very, very important. But again, get involved with the BDA connected community, and there you'll be able to see all of the posts without having to be bombarded and have all these EDMs and everything coming towards you daily. But we do encourage you to get involved. Jeremy, thanks once again.